Hi, do you want more control over your tax and IRS situation? Do you want to pay less taxes without getting into trouble? Do you want to feel confident in dealing with the IRS? Many people have allowed a bad relationship with the IRS to destroy their lives. And I want to expose to as many people as possible what's most often kept a secret so that you'll know the necessity of not being a victim of the IRS or a victim of people trying to help you or of your own limiting beliefs about the IRS and your obligations as a taxpayer. I'm Joe Mastriano, CPA. And if the 37 years and thousands of successful tax cases, I don't know anyone with more IRS experience and knowledge than I have. Now, I've created this video to warn people that over 90% of you fall victim to the IRS and representatives each and every year. There's some basic things we all need to know to avoid being a victim, and I want to share them with you for free in hope that you'll sign up for my video series. The videos will help you feel powerful when dealing with tax return and IRS situations. My video series is also used to train people who represent taxpayers before the IRS. So you'll have access to the same information I use to help them develop their skills. And at the end of the video, I'll list what topics are covered in the video series. My knowledge and techniques developed over the last several decades are not available anywhere else for any price. But this video is free. So watch this video if you want to avoid an audit, if you want to avoid an IRS levy, if you want to protect yourself in an audit, if you want to settle for less taxes, like really, or handle basically any IRS issue that comes up, watch this video. Over 90% of tax returns I look at are audits waiting to happen, and most audits can be prevented. So, with that in mind, oh, and one more thing, I'm really bad at looking into the camera, so please excuse any lack of eye contact. This video was done to establish a credible relationship between us, and I really don't know anyone else with my knowledge and experience. This is my life's work, and I'll always remain active assisting taxpayers and representatives. So don't be afraid to listen to this video, even if it frightens you to find out what you've been avoiding or afraid to face. So let's go. First thing to know is how to deal with the IRS. The IRS uses transcripts, account transcripts for each of your tax return periods or years. Personal returns have years, payroll reports that are quarterly have quarters, the 940 federal unemployment tax is annual. Each return has its own transcript. So someone will says at the IRS that the account is held to a certain date. Like you call them up and you say, don't take any collection action. I need a couple of weeks to get everything in order. Don't believe it. They need to pull each account transcript and put a date on it and recite that date back to you. If you get a letter from the IRS saying this is to acknowledge your agreement to pay us $500 a month or whatever, don't believe it. There are certain codes that go on transcripts. The letter is administrative. You have to manage your transcripts and not just let the IRS tell you things. My video series and webinars will teach you in detail how to manage your transcripts and resolve most any IRS problem you have. So never assume you know what's on your transcripts unless you either see a copy or someone tells you very specifically that they're reading directly from the transcript. Over 90% of you will get audited for failing to do the 4 things I will reference. You have to file on time, but not before April 15th. The IRS has transcripts, wage and income transcripts, that you have to review and look at their records, and you've got to match them in a particular way on the return. Most every return I look at doesn't have that matched. There's statements to put on the return. Most of the times, don't e-file. The statements you put on the returns, sometimes you'll have to break it out to a paper return instead of e-filing because there's no room on the form. Don't worry about it. Those statements discourage auditors. You must also follow specific filing and paying rules, and they're very different than what people believe. To my knowledge, anyone who's followed my 4-part rule has not been audited, not even one person. Almost every tax return I look at is an audit waiting to happen, even if a CPA firm prepared it. Make sure the above items are always considered. My video series and webinars will explain these rules in detail to you. So if you happen to get audited, usually because you didn't follow my 4 rules, this is how to win the audit. Many people believe that just giving the IRS your receipts will do it. And man, I've seen people over the years have their deductions not allowed even when they had all the receipts. You see, the IRS often requires additional proof concerning meeting their rules. Each income and expense item has nuances that need to be addressed to win. Certain expenses, often found on returns, especially itemized deductions, self-employment, Schedule Cs, a strong burden of proof is required by you. They target those areas. What needs to be done by you or the person representing you is to understand what the IRS requires as proof for each of the items you're trying to prove. And they're different. This is why many tax preparers fail. Just because you can prepare a tax return has nothing to do with your ability to meet the IRS's requirement of proof. Now, we represent attorneys, CPAs, and tax preparation firms before the IRS. You need to know this because you may get a huge bill from the IRS because you trusted your preparer who created that big refund for you or lowered your taxes considerably. So never just respond to an audit letter doing what's told in the letter. Never assume your taxpayer can just show the IRS your receipts. You will lose. There's certain steps when you get an audit letter that you must take and do before responding. Well, my video series and webinars will show you how audits are won. If you're looking to settle for less, many offers, in fact, at this time, I believe it's about 80%, are rejected, or at least the taxpayer overpays. And I've changed many people's living situations to get the IRS to settle for less. You see, it's critical to know what's allowed and what's not allowed in an offer. You're not going to get that from some book or somebody's course on the internet. They're just going to rehash what's in the law books or the IRS's books. It's not going to be based on experience. And once you present your story to the IRS, it's hard to change. So if you try on your own without my advice, it'll be very hard to get them to believe that the circumstances are really different. So don't just fill out the offer form and send it in hoping it'll get accepted. My video series and webinars will show you how to win your offer and compromise. So if you're looking to get adjustments from the IRS, things put in your favor, lower taxes usually, getting credits they're disallowing, well, the IRS departments work independently, and collections must always be stopped with deadlines. Again, forget the letters and what the IRS employee told you on the phone. Any liabilities on transcripts that you can't confirm is tied up in a specific extension or payment agreement, just expect a levy. This makes it pretty easy to understand. This is why most people who use debt relief companies and inexperienced tax preparers are not happy. Bank and wage levies happen daily, yet it's easy to prevent. If the collections is tied up now with these deadlines, you must aggressively stay on top of the department you gave the case to, whether it's the taxpayer advocate, appeals, the collection manager. You can't just sit back and leave it up to them. If you don't have a proactive approach, understand that anything can and will happen. I have so much to tell you and warn you about. The IRS and tax representatives prey on your fear from lack of knowledge. Also, the lack of knowledge of the person that's representing you. See, dealing with the IRS is not just filling out forms. I've seen dozens of people attempt to file an offer and compromise, innocent spouse, etc., just by filling out forms, and they lost. You must understand what the IRS does when they get your information so you can plan to win. My video series and webinars will show you what's important in dealing with IRS employees. And now for the final false limiting belief that people have. Yes, it's your limiting beliefs about the IRS that cause you to have problems. Those of you who trust the IRS blindly get taken. Those of you who think the IRS operates illegally and don't want to cooperate get taken. You have to find that happy middle ground. Those of you who think you have to hire an attorney get taken. Those of you who think no news from the IRS is good news get taken. And those of you who defer your judgment and responsibility totally to other people get taken. If your problem is very big and it may involve a criminal act, you're falsely led to believe you have to hire a law firm. Don't fall for it. Only twice in my career did I have to refer someone to a law firm. If Criminal Investigations is pursuing a criminal case against you and won't stop, well, you need a criminal attorney, not a tax attorney who handles criminal matters. Don't fall for the confidential information scam played by many attorneys. My video series and webinars will show you how to be more effective against the IRS than 99% of all the attorneys you'll ever meet. So if you're inclined to represent yourself, or use a friend to help you, or want to understand what your representative should know to best help you, do my video series, which includes my webinars. If you're looking to hire someone to represent you before the IRS, well, then I urge you to talk to me. Our fees are very reasonable. We don't train junior staff or use secretaries to do the work. Most law firms and debt relief companies use secretaries. Their licensed professional doesn't handle your case from start to finish. And we don't use salespeople. Debt relief companies use salespeople who get paid up to 30% of your money. If you want a personal one-on-one consultation, if you intend to represent yourself or use a friend to help you or use a discount service, well, then you still need the knowledge I can provide you in my paid consultation so that you know exactly how to approach and win your IRS situation. So call me now, 713-774-4467 to set it up. Now, the video series covers for everyone how to avoid an audit, how to manage your transcripts. The practitioner series, which is also available to get a much more in-depth knowledge, there's way more videos in that. It covers how to represent taxpayers before the IRS, many aspects dealing with IRS employees and what to do under different circumstances, and how to handle the aspects of getting and keeping clients, timesheets, collecting fees, etc., how to analyze various situations to resolve a case. And this list is going to grow over time as I personally assist my clients and their needs. So click the link to see a more extensive list, and please join me. Thank you.